Hey guys, it's Bro You Whack. So I think it's finally time that we talk about PvE in Overwatch 2 and if it's worth buying. So right away, I gotta make it very clear that I am not being paid or sponsored by Blizzard to make this video, and I think that'll be very apparent if you watch this video in its entirety. I do not care if you buy Overwatch 2 PvE. It does not help me in any sort of way. The whole point of this video is to help you make an informed decision on your own while also trying to give you my personal opinions to help come to that conclusion on if PvE is worth it to you or not. Now, it's very important to go into this video and this discussion with an open mind, because if you're clicking on this video and you're saying to yourself, oh no, it's not worth it, and then you continue to watch this video and then you get mad at me for what I talk about and try to help you decide, then there's really no point for you to watch this video because you've already made up your mind. But I think this is supposed to be a healthy discussion, talk about the good things that come with Overwatch 2 PvE and just overall what came with Invasion, but also talk about the bad things and also give a review on what they need to do better, but also continue to do. But I'm sure the pain point when it comes to PvE and Invasion is the price tag, and this is going to be the biggest tell on if PvE is worth it to you. Now, what did you say to yourself when you saw the price tag for PvE? Was it, oh my god, they're charging $15 for PvE, or was it, oh my god, they're charging an extra $5 to get PvE? Everybody falls under those two boats. I guess there technically is a third boat with the $40 bundle, which we will talk about later, but focusing on the original two price points, when people say that PvE costs $15, they're forgetting that while yes, the original 3 PvE missions are included in that bundle, it also has 1,000 Overwatch coins and a new Sojourn skin. And while you technically can use the 1,000 coins for anything in the shop, like buy an epic skin at most, it's probably going to be most commonly used to buy the Season 6 Battle Pass, which includes the brand new hero Iliari. But maybe even upon finding out about that information, that there's more stuff included in the bundle, they're still going to see PvE costing $15 when I guess technically it's just an additional $5. But nonetheless, I think that's telling to say that you see PvE costing $15, and when it comes to my own personal opinion when it comes to PvE, if we were just to price PvE by itself, those 3 missions, it's not worth $15. But also at the same time, in my personal opinion, and this is where you have to come into this video with an open mind, I do think the 3 PvE missions is worth the extra $5, but at the same time, it's also because I see the value that's within the $15 Invasion bundle, because you have to realize, for me, I'm an Overwatch fan. I buy every single Overwatch 2 Battle Pass. So when I heard that Season 6 was going to be coming out, I already knew in my mind that I was going to be buying the $10 Overwatch 2 Battle Pass, especially considering that there is a brand new hero, which I have my own issues with heroes being locked away behind the Battle Pass. I've ranted about it long enough. I don't need to discuss it here, but the reality is I not only get a bunch of skins and a bunch of cosmetic items, but I also get the brand new hero along with that with $10. So tacking on an extra $5 to experience a story mode for Overwatch 2, which I waited 3 years for, but even if I only waited 1 day, for me, I think it's worth that $5 price point. But again, I'm seeing Overwatch 2 PvE priced at $5, not $15. Now you might be saying to yourself, okay, Bro You Whack, but what about the $40 version? No. Don't buy the $40 bundle. That is a flat no, unless you're the biggest Kariko or Casti fan and you really want these skins because you want to complete the collection, because I'm pretty sure these are going to be the only times they can get these skins or through the $40 Invasion bundle. Now, one quick thing I want to mention before we talk about the quality of the PvE missions is I would have loved to see just a single bundle with the 3 PvE missions cost like $5 or $7 separate from the multiplayer stuff, because there's some people that just want to enjoy the story and don't really care about the battle pass or even the multiplayer. But now that begs the question, is the Overwatch 2 story even worth the extra $5 or the $15 total price tag? So here's what you really have to ask yourself. What do I expect from a single player experience? Some people want to see some cool cutscenes with some HD graphics and some really cool battle scenes. Some people want a thrilling gameplay experience that is very smooth and fun and highly replayable. And for some people, they just want to experience a really compelling story. And luckily, Overwatch 2 PvE has all of it, but is it high quality though? I want to start off with a positive note that I think a lot of people agree with me on that have played PvE and say that the cinematic cinematics absolutely carried the PvE. We have known for a long time that the animators that work on the Overwatch 2 cinematics are in a world class of their own. I mean, we just recently saw with the Sojourn cinematic, still that beauty and polish that we have come to expect when it comes to Blizzard. And when it comes to the Overwatch 2 PvE cinematics, they did not miss a beat. In fact, while it's not leagues better than the cinematics on YouTube, I feel like it's a little bit different that makes it better because you are involved with progressing the story. You play as Lucio while trying to defend the city, and you see that happen. You see the success of your work. Now, granted, it's not that hard, but it's still something different compared to just those mini movies that you see on YouTube. And something else that I really like that I won't give any spoilers for besides the first mission, because you already know what happens with the first mission because it's been out for 4 years, is that they all intertwine with one another. When you finish the first Rio mission, you go to New Queen Street for a specific reason. And when you finish the New Queen Street mission, you go to Torbjorn's factory because you need to fix a problem that you discovered in New Queen Street. Whereas with the YouTube cinematics, we're just plopped in a random world with a random person without any connection to the Overwatch story besides Winston recalling everybody. And even that was only seen in a few cinematics, like with Genji and Hanzo. Winston's recall cinematic did not play at all, it's just them battling. But god dang, it's cool. And while the animation is top notch, I just gotta say the dialogue between the heroes, especially in the third mission, it kind of tugged at my heart a little bit. But also the music, man. I am not one to really credit the music in single player games that often, but that's the first things I noticed is just how good the symphony was in all these missions. It's just so good, man. I do gotta say, when it comes to all the visual effects and the cinematics and the sounds, I want to rate it like a straight up 9 out of 10. It is good, man, especially coming from a studio that was primarily focused on the multiplayer for this game. This is good. But remember, the studio that primarily focused on Overwatch 2 multiplayer is also designing the gameplay for the single player experience. And this is its biggest downfall, is that the gameplay in PvE is so repetitive and boring. If you played the first mission, you experience the gameplay in the next 2 missions. It's the same bosses, the same wave style, with very little differentiations of objectives. I mean, you basically have the standard wave system in the first mission with a boss, and then the second mission, without spoiling too much, you basically defend, and that's really it. And the third mission, you're moving a payload, just like how you do in multiplayer. Like, one thing that I really like about single player games, specifically like with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, is that the gameplay like gives you reasons to actually like perform the gameplay. Like, it's actually to be a part of the experience. Here, I just feel like I'm just shooting bots to get to the cinematics, is to get to the next checkpoint, is to get to the next lore part of Overwatch 2, which is very few and far in between. Like, I feel like the checkpoints that I'm calling it are not really there to lend itself to expand the story of Overwatch 2 PvE, but rather just be checkpoints and maybe have another character to have funny interactions with the other heroes. So when it comes to the gameplay, I give this, like, and this is being generous, like 3 out of 10. If you play the King's Row mission, you experience the gameplay in all 3 PvE missions. So really, you're only here for the story. But this is where Blizzard shoots themselves in the foot right out the gate, because they only have 3 missions to explore this Overwatch 2 story that we waited nearly 4 years for. And it's just so unacceptable, not only having the little amount of PvE missions that try to tell the story that is very hard to do with the limited amount of missions, but also not being transparent with when the next PvE missions are gonna be, because considering that how they ended the PvE missions, it's so garbage. It's so selfish. I understand if anime studios do this because they have a new episode every single week, but they end on a cliffhanger to try to incentivize you to buy the next PvE missions. Again, I'm not spoiling anything, but that cliffhanger, while it's such a good cliffhanger, it just kind of leaves you empty, like, dang, we waited 4 years for this, and they can't even expand more on the story. They intentionally left it at 3 missions so that they can leave it at a cliffhanger. But I went on a giant rant without even talking about the story itself, but again, I feel like there's not much to talk about because we already knew the first mission, and the other 2 missions, they're just so tiny. Would you be able to tell how good the story for Naruto is based on the first 3 missions? Not really, because by then, you're barely introduced to Sakura and Sasuke, you know what I mean? So same thing here, you're barely introduced to the core group of Overwatch and its heroes, but you don't get to experience Diva's backstory, for an example, where she was a pro gamer and then she joined the Mecha Squad and then she got recruited by Overwatch. That'd be such a good story to dive into, but no, we only got a couple of seconds of her on screen. Like, now that I think of it, the only hero story that we truly get to experience, at least in the modern day, is Torbjorn's story. And while Torbjorn is cool and all, there's so many interesting heroes that I love to find out how they even joined Overwatch to begin with in a playable form. I know there's a comic and whatnot, but then at the same time, then what's the point of having PvE if you're not going to explore these heroes with beautiful cinematics, which I guess that's what the future PvE drops are supposed to do, is to be able to give a platform for these other heroes to tell their backstory. So overall, I give this story in the PvE missions a solid like 5 out of 10, but the only reason why it's even ranking that high is because the characters are so colorful and lovely, but that's due to the fact that we fall in love with these characters in more ways than one in the past 6 years of playing multiplayer. If it wasn't for these cool cats on the screen, I think this would be a straight up 2 out of 10. And that's what's so disappointing about PvE, is that when it was promised to us back in 2019, which I know it came with skill trees, but here's another thing. I think people are putting way too much emphasis on skill trees and thinking that that was going to add replayability. It wouldn't have. I really don't think so. Like, if rewards aren't incentivizing enough for you, then I don't think having a new ability would have incentivized you to play this repetitive gameplay. Like, the gameplay is so just bad, man. But back in 2019, we were all hopeful that we were gonna get basically playable cinematics, but more importantly, explore all these heroes' stories. But instead, we're getting a short PvE drop that is so obvious that it's there to make a profit rather than tell a good, compelling story. And they're also trying to milk us more for money with future PvE drops, where they're not being transparent enough of when the next drops are gonna be. We don't even know if the story is complete. I feel like it is, because, well, these 3 missions were done back in like 2021. So going into these 3 PvE missions, I had such a pessimistic attitude, thinking that it was gonna be terrible, the cinematics were gonna be short and awful, the story was gonna be surface level, and the gameplay was gonna be repetitive. But when I left the 3 PvE missions, I was surprised. I'm not saying that it was good, but I was thoroughly surprised with the fact that I spent $5 on PvE. Because again, I didn't see PvE costing $15. If I saw it costing $15, I would be leaving disappointed. Not surprised, disappointed. Which is why I rate Overwatch 2 PvE a solid 6 out of 10. And the only reason why it's getting even that good of a score is because the cinematics were just that good. If it wasn't for the cinematics, none of this would be worth it. It would not be worth any money, and it'd be like a 3 or like a 2 out of 10. But the cinematics is what I kind of want from a single player game. I used to play this game called Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life, and one of the things that I always grinded for in that game was to see the cinematics between Cecilia and my character. And I just, I loved that so much, just seeing them fall in love and build a farm together and have a kid and eventually die. I yearned for those cinematics and those little cutscenes, and to see my favorite characters interacting with one another, not only while playing the game, but also with the cinematics, is just, that's what I wanted. So now, if you need somebody to decide for you if PvE is worth it, here is what I will say. If you're going in this with the biggest pessimistic attitude towards PvE and you don't play multiplayer, don't buy it. You will be disappointed. But if you're somebody that plays Overwatch 2 multiplayer on a regular basis and you will continue to do so, then I do think buying the Invasion bundle is worth it, because again, you'll get the battle pass, you get the brand new hero, and the new hero is awesome. But this video isn't supposed to focus on Iliari, it's supposed to focus on PvE, but the new hero is great, the battle pass content is and the PvE, I think it's worth the $5. And that is my thorough review of Overwatch 2 PvE and the story, but I really hope in the future that we can get better PvE missions and more amounts, because we waited 4 years and to only get 3 of them, that's unacceptable, especially from a AAA developer like Blizzard. So hopefully in the future, Overwatch 2 PvE can be good, but right now, I mean, Iliari's good. They did a great job with multiplayer right now. With Flashpoint, it's going good. But until then, I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. More Overwatch 2 videos to come, and bye.